Esports comp is solid as always. I think Frank Esports is a team that honestly does draft pretty well. Like, I've never really been a huge critic of their drafts, and they seem to also have got what they wanted. They have that Talia that can move from mid down into the bot river. So honestly, I'm expecting this one to be a much more competitive game than game one.
Yeah, and not as sort of aggressive in our jungler picks this game. So, I mean, I kind of imagine a bit more traditional jungle pathing. You don't have that Elise, but Shun here will get hooked up actually, taking a lot of damage. Is he going to have to use... He does use Ghost. Ignite also burn, but he will get away for now. But that's a massive find. They got both Summoner spells out of Zeri early game, and that's a big weakness in this bottom lane already.
That's pretty rough, yeah. Loses both his sums and also is going to be slightly late to the wave, as well as Gemini. I guess he's going to have to solo start. Probably wasn't going to get leashed anyway, but... Ooh, maybe he was actually, because he's going to start the red. So pretty bad start there for the side of CFO. Obviously, if the sums go relatively unpunished, then certainly not the end of the world. But it can be tough as Jimmy is getting priority on this wave very, very early. I think it's definitely nice to do this up against the Talia. As Gemini, he decides to start the Raptors instead, and this is not spotted out.
Yeah, I think for that bottom lane, though, the fact that she loses both those sums and comes to lane late means that now Xayah Nautilus will get the priority early wave, and that's definitely not what you'd expect out of this matchup, and that could probably change the entire sort of way this lane goes, because Xayah, if she is able to get to the wave first, she just insta clears it. And so you will have priority early game around this bot side, and again, the Dragons, if you can keep that up, then it's going to be a lot harder for CFO to play around.
Still happy about the fact that they are going to have agency in this mid lane, though. Even if their bot lane does fall behind, I think Jimmy might be able to find something with that kind of mid jungle. I mean, the Cinderella Sin is much, much stronger than, say, the Veigar Elise that we had last game. I think you're right, though. Maybe some pressure will be needed to put bot just to kind of alleviate a bit of that pressure that they're feeling, because it is going to be quite difficult for them to get out of this lane. Heavy trades coming out on the top side as well. The Malphite is something that we've kind of seen a few times now, I think actually from OCE teams as well. And obviously if you can get to the teamfight stage is great, but it has a bit of a difficult lane.
Definitely not the strongest lane champ, and is getting bullied out a little bit early by this Cassante, but again, he isn't really picked for his lane phase. Obviously that unstoppable force, he's kind of, you'd have to think one of the best team fighting champions in the game, especially when it's just going against the likes of Zeri and Syndra.
Yeah, those immobile champs can definitely suffer, especially when there is the follow-up, right, from the Talia shove, from the Nautilus lockdown as well. Even the Xayah route has to be considered. Tender, he's going to take a little bit of damage here, as this wave does get crashed by Jimmy. Has himself a very small CS lead. Doesn't look like anything will come of it, at least for now. Is maybe just going to drop himself a ward on that bot side. Tender as well matches a ward in the top side river, I believe. Hollow does just grab that scuttle and will now show on the ward. Could actually see a 2v2 around mid if he goes for it.
Yeah, definitely. Gemini in the area here. Is spotted out twice. Will be spotted out as he comes out. Ooh, this is dangerous now for Hollow. Might have to potentially burn. Oh, that ward actually catches him. That's quite a lot of range from that ward, honestly, but is going to be okay to get out now and has found himself an early one camp lead as he recalls, likely to go back to that top side and start the clear back down again.
Yeah, it was actually pretty scary there, I think, what happened. If that ward hadn't caught him, probably would have ended up maybe losing the flash. But for now, things remain relatively quiet. But for how long with the first dragon spawning in 30 more seconds, which for other teams isn't something you normally think of picking up at 5 minutes. But for these two, might be something we have to take a look at.
Fight time. Culls both for the 80 carries again, so really opting for more of a scaling instead of the brawling items. As man, look at the zone that's coming out, but Gemini now are going to appear, and dangerous for Frank, but shouldn't sums do go unpunished other than that sort of early push that Frank have been able to have because of it. But yep, both sums will be available very shortly, and Shun should be happy to just play this lane as he usually would from now.
Nice by them, I think, to make sure that those sums did relatively go unpunished, although, you know, a slight Slight health lead. Can they do anything with it? Probably not. Not until Nautilus is level 6, I wouldn't expect. And bot lane, ooh, the hook does go wide. I think if that hit and they got a good chunk, maybe could have looked at that drag. But without it, things will just kind of go back to normal. So look, he's having some difficulties in this top matchup, but I mean, we saw last time, despite falling behind, still managed to find tons of impact in the team fights, and certainly less behind this game than he was previously. Somehow ended up with the CS lead last game, actually. Not sure how that happened. We'll have to see if he can do it again.
You know, I don't think he should be able to in this matchup, but you'll never know. Hook will here land, but another dash will be available. He actually gets stunned up, and first blood over to Hollow. Really good chaining of CC between Kaiwing, Eminem, and Hollow to be able to pick that kill up, and Viego is at an early lead now.
That was really, really nice. We've kind of memed PCS Viego as being something that's honestly just not hit the mark time and time again. Coming though, he finds Gemini, gets the blast cone. But Hollow, I mean, getting that kill, it's the snowball he needs. Can they get anything off it? I feel like probably not. Without that mid priority, starting up Dragon seems pretty risky. But you're probably content to just slow the game down. I mean, you've got the snowball that you needed on the Viego, and also, I think even if you just stop CFO from getting drags, that's good, right? You don't have to get drags of your own, just stop them from picking those up. Pretender, he's struggling.
Yeah, getting chunked out. Jimian having a lot of control over here. 10 CS lead, although 5 should be claimed here from Pretender.
I think Gemini will swap back to topside. And we're starting to see, you know, perhaps the risk of blinding Slayer. I mean, isn't super far behind, but doesn't have the priority that he did last game on the Jace. It's just getting shoved in here by Jimmy and Cinder. Another stun connects. And we'll enter the top river. The red is actually started up by Gemini. So currently with that mid and top priority, Hollow has to be a little bit careful. He doesn't have flash.
Yeah, this could be dangerous. He will suspect something's up, but Gemini does manage to take away that red. So a slight win for the side of CFO as Hollow will just go and do his Krugs now. And as the Viego, that's the one. You do really want to get to that ult so you can start sort of using that Heartbreaker, picking up some resets, and that's kind of where your strength in the champion does come from.
Shun is just going to pick up these creeps bot side. Herald isn't spawning for another 10 seconds. We'll have to see, do supports move to that or not? The Dragon not being picked up yet means that Drag can always be a trade for the Reft Herald if it is started up. Ooh. Speaking of trades, we have the top lane tanks brawling each other just a little bit.
I wonder if the side of Frank are trying to just wait until they are able to get that Divine Sundra onto Hollow before really trying to get these objectives. Because obviously, between the jungle matchups, the later this game goes, the better it is for Hollow. That's not necessarily true for the entire map, but particularly in that isolated 1v1.
Ooh, Frank Esports' bowling is trying to set up something here. There's missing pings coming out, so I think CFO probably expect that Frank's bot lane is rotating to Herald, but they're actually just camping the bush. How long are they going to keep the... Okay, so they do end up showing. Now can get priority on this wave and maybe enter the river. There's a lot of priority here coming in from bot. Ooh, the hook was close.
Shun's been really good at dodging those out between that hook and the Zenith Blade last game, but priority now established for Frank as the Dragon will likely get started up here, and I don't even know who necessarily wins. If Syndra comes down, Syndra is quite strong at this stage of the game and has a lot of sort of area control within the river, but Dragon now at half health. Will Gemini look for anything here? Pretender just waiting on the side. Will be able to use that Weaver's Wall if need be, but Dragon is just picked up here for the side of Frank, and again, a nice early lead starting to be established by them.
Yeah, ultimately, it is the bot priority that makes a difference in that fight. CFO, they're unable to group up in the river, and it is Frank that grouped as 4 can just split them in half. And despite, you know, probably being strong in that fight with the Syndra, just can't get into a favorable position. And like you said, first Dragon going the way of Frank Esports. For other teams, you know, it wouldn't matter too much, but for CFO, could be a worrying trend.
Yeah, they will see this Herald now started up as Kaiwing is headed that direction, and Rest, however, does have a lot of prio as well as solo kill, getting quite low here in the top lane in the isolated 1v1, so Herald likely to be in favor of CFO, but last game we did see a bit of a collapse from their team around this objective. As Hollow looks for Slater, he will dash away from it, but happily will pick up Herald now, as you expect there to be a bit of a disengagement.
It was nice, I think, by the side of CFO to pick that up. Unfortunately, Frank just a little too late to the play, but with their tempo expended into that first drag, can't say that it's unexpected. As now going, he's going to regain a little bit of control on this bot side. And this Herald, I think, it is pretty big for the side of CFO. This is a team that needs to get ahead early stylistically. Again, I think their comp scales pretty well, but CFO have looked so much better when they find themselves those leads. And if they can get a successful gank off and take the plates afterwards with the Herald, could put themselves in a very good position to end up taking game 2.
Yeah, and just really good farming here from Jimmy, and honestly, he's at 125, only 11 minutes into this game, and I mean, this Syndra will become so difficult to deal with from pretty much everyone in Frank, maybe excluding the Malphite if Malphite wants to just ult Jimmy in, but we'll have to see sort of how these fights start playing out as we progress through the game.
Knowing he's forced out of here just a little bit, and both top laners actually commit their TPs to that top lane. Herald has dropped mid, and it will be gold maybe going to Jimmy, and actually not sure he can go up and get it. All the gold does go into Gemini's Lee Sin, and I think that's probably not the place you want it. Of anyone on your team, I think the Syndra Zeri or the Cassante would probably prefer that gold. So definitely not the use of Herald we were looking for, but they do at least have a slight gold lead.
Yeah, ever so slight they do. Dragon is sort of the compensation for that, though, obviously. It was more or less a Rift Herald for Dragon trade. And partly... Oh, we do see a fight actually breaking out. Gemini will get depth charges. Hollow jumps on in. He is shoved as well. Can they get the reset? They do, but he isn't able to pick it up as Zeri now flashing forward. Kaiwing having to flash out now. Zeri dashing again. He is unstoppable. Will be able to pick up a double kill. Shun again finding early kills, but Eminem answers, is able to find Slater on the bottom side. Ultimately, it is a 2 for 2 there, but both the kills going to Shun is massive for how this game can play out.
Yeah, I think that's a very important pickup there for the side of CFO. Once again, it's Shun that finds himself with the kills. This time, though, I think just having the Syndra for this early fight compared to the Veigar was such a big difference, right? We saw so much damage coming out. Gemini, I'm not actually too sure how he even ended up in this position, but was flashed on, but enough damage coming out from Jimmy and on the Syndra meant that even with that reset coming through, wasn't able to pick it up. And Shun just flashing and ghosting over the wall, and a really nice stun again from Jimmy, and did give him that number 2 in Slater. I think probably got a bit lost in the sauce. Wasn't aware that Eminem was below him and manages to snipe one back.
The relatively even trade, all things considered. The gold does stay at about the same amount we saw before that, but 50 seconds now, Dragon will be spawning. There is no flash or ghost for Shun, and importantly, Eminem does have flash still available, as well as Pretender having both sums.
Nice flash there from Jimmy, and I think if that hit would have been not long for this world. So really nice that he managed to get out of there. It is Dragon, though, in 30 seconds, and not having the Syndra flash for it is pretty scary. It's difficult to walk into the river up against the Talia. Most likely will need a hover from Gemini. You have to think that Syndra... Ooh, they managed to pick Shun.
That is massive. The gold does go to Kaiwing, so kind of a best-case scenario in terms of what happened, but now that Zeri's dead, there will be almost no way to contest this upcoming Dragon. Oh, it's just backing on a ward.
Yeah, it's pretty rough there for Shun, and I think should be back on the map in time for this Dragon, but certainly an untimely death and will give up control over this. Frank, they can maybe force a fight before Shun's alive. Syndra no flash, remember.
Ooh, we do see an initiation here. It is charmed up and knocked up as Kaiwing. Gemini now landing a 3-man knockup with that Dragon's Rage. Can they find anything back? Not just yet. Hollow will find one reset. Can he find anything else? Rest now arriving, as is solo kill. Slater getting low, but the snipe from Zeri will also hit Hollow. And on the bottom side, Rest able to pick up Pretender. So 2 for 0 for the side of... 2 for 1, sorry, for the side of CFO. Jungler is dead for CFO. Are they able to take the Dragon? You have to think so, but... yeah, they are able to pick up the teamfight win there.
Okay, tied the Dragons up 1 for 1, and the gold lead as well basically brought back to neutral. It is only a 1k gold deficit. Jimmy, I think, really well played in that fight as well. Stopwatch the Malphite ult, and the Malphite ended up only going onto the Cinder, right, who, with the stopwatch, completely nullified it. And you were kind of expecting that with Shun dying, Frank should have the control of that and not find it too much difficulty to end up picking this drag up. As we saw Engage, initially, it was Gemini that was caught out, but Kaiwing, he took so much damage back. And while the reset did end up coming through, I think it was really what happened with the Malphite. I think Gemini probably could have kited this a bit further out, but it did end up going down. Pay attention to the Malphite ult here, though. It's a solo Malphite ult, and really good zonies there from Jimmy, and doesn't have the flash. And I think that critically turns the fight around. Rest just so much more impact in that fight as well. And maybe seeing some of the limitations of a champ like Malphite, right? It's your red side 5-piece, so you're expecting it to come through, you know, counter the comp, get priority over its lane, but hasn't really got prior or anything in the lane. And having difficulty against the comp, just with cooldowns being rotated, hasn't found anything just yet.
We do see Kaiwing engaged on here. He is going to not get knocked up, but will likely go down. Is actually walking away. Resonating strike lands, but Shun isn't going to go down here. 2 solo kill as Blade Caller. Will it find Slay True? Not just yet. Unstoppable Force will, however, as Rest goes down as well. 3 for 0 so far, but we will see a trade over from Gemini. Are they able to get onto him? Hook goes wide. Feathers will not root as Gemini tries to run away. Will Eminem catch up to him? Ghost is popped, and it is an ace. So it is a clean ace for the side of Frank. If Baron was up, they'd go for it, but instead it's just going to be some towers.
It's really rough there for the side of CFO. Just as we were singing their praises, unfortunately, they're just not as clean at team fighting as the side of Frank Esports. We kind of see here their initial engage, it goes on to Kaiwing, but now they're all stuck in this choke point up against a Talia and a Malphite, and you really see what happens as a result. Just so much damage that comes out of Pretender, and then everyone grouped up here allows Eminem just to hit for free. As we see another engage,
Kaiwing goes down now. Well, there's just fights all over the show, but man, Pretender's sort of shoved there. Actually caught onto 3 of them. That kind of turned the entire fight, you have to feel. Massive out of him.
Was crazy. Look at the damage that comes out of Eminem on the Xayah. I'm not sure if he even had 2 items in that fight. Probably doesn't, but had the Ghost and is just able to chase down and put down so many orders. Doesn't have the Navori now if he didn't have it before. And is so spiked, right? You got to feel that Navori Xayah. It kind of reaches a point where if it gets too fed too early, there's no one that can actually deal with it, right? In theory, the Syndra Cassandre League Sin topside maybe can deal with it, but it feels like it's almost just not able to, especially because Jimmy kind of forced into itemizing the Zhonya up against the Nautilus as well as the Malphite. So I guess Kaiwing just kind of overstayed a bit too far for that TP, or sorry, for the tower, and the TP came through. Honestly, I feel like it's a fine death. Doesn't really matter too much. Especially because TP was used, and you got the mid tower anyway. Pretender actually has himself a Herald. I'm not sure where that got picked up, but we'll have to see what he can do with it. Mid tier 1 has already been broken, so maybe instead play for that top tier 1. Frank Esports, they're getting priority over mid, so can regain this top control and maybe look at the tier 1, but they have to be careful. Face checking against the Lee Sin and Rakan can be deadly. They've got to kind of wait for people to show on these waves and take it back step by step. Coming though, he doesn't care. He's just running straight in.
There's kind of dominance out of Kaiwing here.
I mean, hey, it worked well for him the last 2 times.
That is true, and now we are seeing Jimmy come down here. Pretender will be able to push that wave in. See if he uses the Herald. You have to think he would. And with no stopwatch available for Jimmy, and it does seem a bit dangerous for him to be walking this far up, but team coming to come and help him, but 50 seconds left on Dragon. See if any of the focus gets switched here.
Jimmy, he manages to clear out the top tower. Maybe they want to look for and engage on the side of CFO. There's so many members here. Jimmy, and he has the flash, but like you said, does not have the stopwatch available as Frank. It looks like they're going to commit numbers to trying to knock this down. And I think CFO will have to give it up. I feel like we kind of have to bring up that stat about both teams having monstrous win rates when they're ahead. And it is Frank, right, that are 4k gold up, while the Dragons are even. You have to feel like they're in the better spot, particularly with Eminem being so snowballed ahead of this. I guess it's going to be a second Dragon fight for whichever team picks it up.
Yeah, and Jimmy actually not even building the Zhonya's. He did sell that stopwatch after burning it, so he's only going to be really able to dodge out of a Malphite every time his flash is up, realistically.
Interesting, yeah. I guess maybe he's opting towards a Banshee or a Cosmic even instead. As the trade looks like it will be the tier 1 top, so CFO committing to giving up this Dragon. I think it's probably the correct decision. Dragon still pretty far away here as a win condition for the side of Frank, and trading back whatever gold you can is pretty important. Should manages to pick up his second item, so maybe could start to look for fights again, but Eminem still far ahead, is sitting at 2.5 items.
Baron up now, so any mistake can really lead to that objective. Both teams having a lot of damage and also tankiness to be able to tank it up as well, so something to be careful for, as you have to expect from the rest of this game, the sort of mid lane matching between AD carries should go in the favor of Eminem. Typically, Xayah does get priority on minion waves.
And with that priority over the mid lane, I think it can be really difficult for CFO to maintain control of a Baron area. And there's so many tanks and so much damage that comes out from Frank Esports that Baron can go down in no time. So CFO, they're going to try and maintain what vision they can, but have to be very, very careful.
Slaytrue will dodge out of that snare from Hollow, but Kaiwing looking on the bot side. Gemini will not get hooked. As he does go back in, he is rooted up and will get rooted up by the Blade Caller. Jimmy, though, finds a nice angle, and Eminem's going to be forced to use Featherstorm. Rest is getting low. All outs on Kaiwing. Definitely not what target you want. One reset comes in, and do they look towards the Baron?
I think maybe you do just look up to start the Baron and then try force a turn. You still have the Malphite ult if you want to try force a turn, so just force the members of CFO to come in and then look for the engage.
Weaver's Wall and Depth Charge also available, so Shun absolutely not safe despite those two summoners available.
Yeah, it starts getting quite low, so the Weaver's Wall is committed.
Gemini coming in, you have to be careful for a steal as we see a massive unstoppable force followed by the shove. Will find two. Are they able to get Shun now? Does dash awfully close and will go down. Will Gemini look for a steal? You always feel like at this stage he has to, as this gold lead is now ballooned to 5k. Hollow on the outside is going to be able to reset, but won't find Gemini just yet. Pretender looking.
Yeah, he's going to try find him here. I think should probably just stay where he is on the other side of the pit, but it seems so hard for Gemini to steal. He's going for it.
Yeah, Kaiwing getting low, will get taken out by Gemini, will actually use Dragon's Rage, come back in, isn't able to find the Baron, but what an effort out of Gemini.
Yeah, well, hell of an attempt there, I think, out of Gemini. It was definitely better than I expected, but unfortunately, the Baron does go the way of Frank Esports. Resi manages to trade a tower back bot side, but take a look at Eminem's items now. 606 has the BT, and importantly, still managed to keep his flash. So it's going to be so hard for CFO to win a fight. And when we said at the start of the game that we liked the CFO's comp had a lot more agency than game one, they're really just outclassed in terms of team fight ability. Time and time again, you see fights that perhaps should be more even, just go the way of Frank Esports. I think real nice wall here from Pretender. Knows that once the Baron is getting low, it forces CFO into a difficult position. And Gemini taking this, it puts him in a great spot to steal, but it also splits up the team fight, and Jimmy and, you know, without the flash, can't really play up against the Malphite. It's just chain CC'd and died, and then we're the point and click CC coming out. I mean, it doesn't matter how good you are at the Zeri when there is that Nautilus ult in the game. And I mean, once again, credit to Jimmy.
Oh, we see more fights. Hollow getting really low. Gemini will take him out. Kaiwing now in the middle. 3-man knock up by Malphite. And the Blade Caller finds 3. That's a quadra. Can we find a penta? It doesn't look like it, but what a combo out of Frank.
That was insane. I mean, the Weaver's Wall as well forced them all into the corner, and then Solo Kill lines them all up for Pretender to knock them all down, and it's Eminem that steals them all, but I have to say, I mean, wow, what a combo. I mean, that looks so sick. They're going to try maybe play for the Penta. I think it might be a bit much here, fellas. Just focus on ending the game.
Yeah, are they able to end? There is still 10-second death timers on any sort of follow-up, but with the 2 members alive, it does look like it will just be the 2 inhibs, but in saying that, 24 minutes and 2 inhibs, you can't complain.
And we'll see a little bit of a replay of this. I think it was it Kaiwing or Hollow that was caught out initially? Hollow takes a lot of damage. Oh, okay, so it was all outed through the wall. Ends up in a tough spot, but with the Weaver's Wall coming out here, forces them all into this tiny choke here. And wow. Just insane combo there. So much wombo that comes out in that choke point. And CFO, I think with that, their hopes in this game probably are ripped away. Down 9,000 gold. They're going to try force a fight around this dragon, but I have no idea how you can win at this sort of deficit.
You do have flash and quickness from Rakan, but again, I mean, in mere seconds, Eminem will have that Featherstorm available again, which just provides so much safety. And as you saw in that time, in that fight, when used aggressively, so much damage. It's 4 people now trying to aggress onto Kaiwing yet again. This does look like it might spell the end for them. Rest taking a lot of damage here from Hollow, will get stunned up. But nice shove there by Jimmy in to dissuade anything for now. Solo kill now arriving. Does have unstoppable force, and we saw what can happen if that is used properly. Disengage, looks like it will be Dragon for now, but CFO playing with fire.
They really are. Jimmy, and he managed to kind of extinguish the situation, but it's so difficult to actually find anything. They commit everything onto Kaiwing, who still doesn't go down, let alone if you try that onto the likes of Eminem, who is 10-0, BT, and a stopwatch. It just feels so difficult for the side of CFO. Maybe if you can get on Eminem before he has his flash up, chain CC him down with that Syndra follow-up, maybe there's a way back in, but you're really clutching at straws.
Yeah, you definitely are. This is a really impressive performance out of Frank again. I mean, they find themselves at a wee deficit early, but I don't know. How do you beat them? This looks like Waku levels of AD carry at some points.
It definitely does, right? I mean, as Eminem, towards the later end of the split, was looking very, very good as an ADC. So continuing that trend now, it is this last lane being sieged. Mid and bot inhibs are already down. This is the last remaining lane still standing here for the side of CFO. Looks like they'll be able to keep the inhib up at least for now, but this should be the top tier 2 falling as Shun is forced to kind of move away and deal with those creeps. Will they go for the inhib? I mean, they have a lot of engage and the waves are still pressuring. Might not even need to wait for the dragon. Ooh, okay, so Kaiwing, okay, stun was used. They have to be quite careful here, I think, of CFO. Once the stun is used, there's not a lot of threat.
Weaver's wall comes out. Gemini on the wrong side of it. Should be able to safeguard out, but this tower doesn't seem like it will be alive for long. And following that, the inhib, unstoppable use from Rest to dissuade that hook. But this inhib will likely be going down, which will spell 3 inhibs and almost certain demise.
Yeah, it is being hit here. I mean, CFO, they have to force something early. Once you lose 3 inhibs, especially with Baron spawning, the game becomes so difficult. Solo kill, he has TP. Hasn't committed it though, it's just staying in base. Maybe wants to try find some sort of TP flank.
Oh, the home guard TP coming in from mid. Will he find anything of value? I don't think Jimmy has Spell Shield. Doesn't, so that is a very risky sort of... Can't play any risk here as Jimmy, and Hollow misses that snare just as this inhib will now go down. Hook found now onto Slaytrue. Knock up also onto Shun twice, in fact. Rest on the side, though, is getting low. Will not go down just yet as Shun flashes away and gets Gemini hooked. Solo kill now, getting beaten down by Zeri, but looks like it disengaged. Frank can just back out and look for this Baron as double inhib waves will come in from every single wave.
They do, yeah, and credit to CFO. I think they actually played that fight pretty well. But it just feels like too little too late. The third inhib ends up going down, and Frank should be able to go towards the Baron. Rest?
Yeah, Rest getting really in there as they are looking to try stop any attempts at Baron. I mean, no unstoppable force, but that is a mere 20-ish seconds away from being back up. And again, no flash now available for Shun.
All you have to do here, though, as Frank Esports, is just wait for your waves to pressure. CFO, they're going to have such a tough time clearing waves in the base. Admittedly, will be a lot of gold that'll get picked up by Shun and Jimmy in clearing out these waves, but once the inhib is, once the Baron is picked up, it's going to be so hard to hold on. Feels like those mid and bot inhibs might just immediately fall again afterwards. And it is even the 4th dragon on the table in just a minute and a half. So just so many ways to win here from Frank Esports and so few for the side of CFO.
Yeah, I almost feel like the only realistic way they could possibly fight for a win is if Rest sort of just commits himself to dying and taking Eminem through a wall and out of the fight. Because with Eminem on this almost 6-item Xayah. How else do you deal with it? I mean, Syndra just doesn't have the damage to deal with it yet. Did just pick up Shadow Flame as well as Blighted Jewel, but even with that, you don't really have the damage necessary to burst down this Xayah with that Bloodthirster shield as well as a GA.
It is really hard, yeah. I think the GA especially, right, it kind of means that you can't even just chain CC her down and get the guaranteed kill. It's suddenly, she can just come back, and I feel like with the amount of lifesteal that she has, if you don't instantly kill the Xayah, she is not going down at all. It just is so hard. Obviously, Xayah doesn't take the overheal, but even just with the BT, is so tanky as a result.
Yeah, and I think traditionally as the Xayah, when you do have the GA, you almost play it differently, where you don't really commit that Feather Storm until you've used the GA, and then as soon as you come out of GA, you're kind of the best at being able to get back in the fight, because you do have an immediate way to just be untargetable and be able to put out immediate damage as well. So I don't know, it's looking very rough here for the side of CFO. I do feel like either Baron or the 4th Dragon will likely spell the end of the game, but we'll see if they are able to pick up anything CFO. Again, I think Rest just kind of has to commit himself to dying almost to have a chance in these fights.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that is just your kind of Hail Mary at this point. Feels so difficult to pick anyone really, but how much time do you even buy here as Rest? I mean, it's a 10-0 Xayah. I feel like you're not going to last that long. Maybe you can just keep her in the CC chain for long enough that your team makes a pick elsewhere, but I mean, it just feels so hard, right? Realistically, CFO are out of this game. If Frank throw, maybe there's a way back in, but it's not up to CFO anymore.
Yeah, definitely not. I mean, all these past 2 games, they've found a lead early game in both of them, and I mean, Frank have just been the better team as soon as it came to sort of the middle stages of this game. As I believe Shun here having some difficulties. Definitely is in game anyway.
Definitely is. You know, when the game just got paused, you were saying the one way for them to win was, I was thinking you were gonna say the enemy team DCing, but unfortunately it was Shun who DC'd on the losing team, not the player you want. And Shun, I mean, credit to him, has picked up, you know, leads, like you said, in both these games. I think started game 1 2-0 or 2-1 and found himself 2 kills early this game. But it kind of just feels like in the team fights, Frank are just too clean with it, right? They just play the fights better. And not just like a little bit better, they're just destroying them in fights. So consistently coming out with those big leads. And something you kind of saw where with CFO up against the Oceanic teams especially is, you know, the fights would end up being quite close, so the game would stagnate for a while. There wouldn't be anything taken off it, right? No towers, no dragons, no barons. Whereas Frank, you know, there's times we're saying, oh, if Baron were up, they would just take it right now. And instead they take everything else because they're just winning the fight so one-sided. And that's so tough, I think, for CFO to look at game 3 and be like, you know, what are we going to do about this? As is the Baron picked up, we return it to the live game here.
Yeah, 1 minute to Dragon, but you do kind of feel like that is just unnecessary here, as there's only 2 towers left on the map.
Yeah, I think Frank can probably just run down mid, grab both these inhibs, and just keep sieging. I feel like, ooh,
well, initiation here is found onto Rest. Not the ideal target, but with the Xayah, you are just taking him out. Ghost is popped by him, and nice disengage found by Jimmy in again, but I feel like Jimmy in playing this well is kind of too little too late, as mid inhib goes down. Is now going to be followed by bottom inhib, and that's again triple waves of double super minions as well as Baron buffed up. So as this top wave comes in, will they be able to get any hits onto these towers? It does look a little bit hard for now, but so tanky is solo kill. Rest now, Kaiwing does miss the hook, he's in the tower. Rest now getting very low. Blade Featherstorm is actually used as Slaytree runs through the team. Massive knockback found by Jimmy, and hopefully giving his team some breath of light as they do find 2 at their Nexus towers.
Wow, I mean, I can't believe they actually managed to win a fight, but it looks like Eminem's not done.
Yeah, Eminem's still very strong. Flashes away. Will he be able to find Shun? Just not quite. Shun doing well to dodge away. All out now used. GA popped. This looks like Eminem will receive his first death of the game, and some hope now found for the side of CFO.
They get a lot of shutdowns, but can they actually exit their base to stop this 4th dragon? I think they have to try. Hollow's starting it up, but I think should be forced off of it. Maybe I think Hollow just plays the delay. I mean, they're on the best health bars from the side of CFO, and the waves are still crashing. But I think CFO, they actually buy themselves a bit of time in this game, and it feels so weird. Why are they playing their team fights so well now when they're at such a huge deficit? I think the stun, especially from Jimmy, was incredible in that fight. Let's have a look at it. So interesting engage, I feel like, as a whole. I think that Frank Esports played this a bit too fast. Can just wait for your waves if you need to. Featherstorm was committed early, and it is this stun that comes out from Jimmy and that really just ruins the chances of Frank Esports doing a whole lot here. And with health bars low, Eminem, he still tries to pressure. He can just back away and save his flash and GA, but instead, feeling himself a bit too much perhaps, tries to go for the 1v5. I mean, I can respect it. And honestly, it was kind of close. But unfortunately, was CC'd and taken out. And CFO, with that, they buy themselves potentially a way back into this game and at least a little bit of time.
You do feel like it is a little bit too little too late, as I said before, but definitely signs of life. And if this game does end, it shows that it is possible for this team to do things against Frank, as we now see Solo Kill just taking up absolutely everything.
Yeah, waves are crashing. The bot wave isn't here just yet. But it is going to be so difficult. This last tower is all that's remaining. And Frank Esports, they want to put on the pressure, but without the wave synced, I'm actually not sure they'll be able to end up taking it. They've got 2 waves crashing now. If they can't get anything done with this wave, then I think the inhib will actually spawn.
Yeah, Rest is hooked and shoved back, but no stun with that one, so it is okay to just walk out while staying relatively healthy. Hook lands again. He will be found this time, as he does not go down, but Slaytrue will instead, as we do see Gemini now going down 2 on the top side. 3v5 now. Are they able to stall anymore? Unstoppable Force lands only onto Rest, and he will go down as well. Second Nexus turret down. Blade Storm used, as well as Blade Caller. Will they're going for the kill on Shun. Don't know if that's the best idea. He will go down, and this will be game 2 now picked up from Frank. But importantly, signs of life coming out of CFO heading into this third one.
For sure, yeah. Signs of life. They had a much better early game, I think, especially around mid lane. I can think Jimmy had a much better performance in this game. I still think team fighting remains a major issue. As they got later in the game, honestly, the team fights were starting to look quite good. But time and time again, too little, too late. And I think if CFO, if they can perform in some of those early game skirmishes, those early game team fights, could contest Frank Esports, but now you're starting to think Frank Esports, they do just look a bit stronger across the board. And up 2-0 in the series, I kind of want to see CFO honestly just kind of run it back with what they just played. Maybe not the same champs, but I like the same style of, you know, having a strong mid jungle, getting Shun on their carry champ. It feels like they ticked all the boxes there. But unfortunately, yeah, just out-muscled in the team fights.
They definitely were, and bringing on that team fights is where I want to start off. Who do you think is MVP? Because I know Eminem had a lot of kills and stuff, but I honestly feel like Solo Kill might deserve it. He found that massive 4-man knock-up. Maybe Pretender as well, because that's what kind of